Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Salvatore Bruno. Join me in discovering the mindset into fitness, nutrition and wellness, where I'll be answering your questions, interviewing the top names and leaders in the game, and of course, I'll be getting their stories on how they get motivated to become the best. You'll find it right here on Bruno Talks. Hello and welcome. So my guest today is going to be talking about his years where he started from anything from grappling through to MMA to the main stage at Wembley, right through to being the entrepreneur that he is today. He's a local legend. He is Mr. James Monkey Boy Reedman. How you doing, James?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thanks. That's a cracking entrance. Thank
you very much.
You should follow me around and do that every day, I think, mate. I like that. That's good.
So, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. And you?
I'm very good. Thank you for coming on the show. And I guess for me, because obviously I know you, but for me, I guess what I really wanted to do was to get the listeners to find out who the real James Reedman were, or who he is, and where it all kind of started for you. So, where did it start for you?
I mean, it's a long story, man. It's a long story. So if we want to talk about the MMA side of things first, I grew up in Woking, lived over that way for the kind of the first 20 years of my life. Basically, met some friends, began training initially just to lose weight and kind of get in shape. Had a job where I travelled a lot for work and stuff, and I've just been a 21-year-old lad, just doing the...
I was going to ask you how old you were.
Yeah, no, so in terms of martial arts, I started quite late, but this is proof that it's, age is just a number.
Yeah,
really. I kind of stuck at that, trained for, I've been training now 15 years, give or take. I have fought, in excess of 25 times probably in my career. Amateur pro, I fought in this country, internationally. It's enabled me to travel the world doing what I loved. It 100% it's shaped me as a person. Met some amazing people through it. Met some absolute wrong-uns on the journey as well. But you do everywhere, I think. So it's it's good.
That's good. And taking it right back, I mean, I know you said that you started around like when you were 21, and you said that's quite late. So I mean, for someone who's starting off at grappling, I mean, can you start really quite younger than that? Can you start?
Yeah. So, but I mean, back when I started, it was basically MMA was not on TV. My parents wouldn't allow me to watch it. Like it would have been on, I don't know, something like Bravo at like 1 a.m. or something. Like,
yeah.
It was real underground still. It was people feared it because they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
That almost, the kind of person I am, that almost kind of spurred me on a bit. It was always okay, like maybe I shouldn't be doing it, so I want to give it a go. I was never a natural fighter. I wouldn't even say I'm a natural athlete.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just worked the hardest and refused to give up, basically. Like now, kids are starting. My boy's just about to turn 3, and he's just doing stuff in the gym.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
booting the hell out.
He does well. I've got my little girl as well. She's 12. She's been training for ever since she could do, really. Not necessarily training to fight, but just training, having a bit more self-confidence, belief in things that she's doing. So you can train for different purposes. It doesn't just have to.
Yeah, because I see it as because obviously I've never done this, and I know I've known you for years and stuff like that. But for me, I know there's a lot of people out there that want to teach their kids it, but it is a great discipline. I mean,
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to explain. I think unless you've done it, it's hard to explain. It's not violence. Obviously, me, I'm probably the least actual violent person, but I just like to fight in a cage, and I like to punch people in the head. Really,
I'm glad we're not in the cage tonight.
For me, it's the expression of the art that I've chosen to pursue for years, and it has shaped my life really. So I'm forever grateful for what it gave me, really.
And why did you, or when did you decide to make that move, kind of like from MMA to like Muay Thai?
Sort of the Thai side of it came about when so I was predominantly a grappler.
Right. Okay.
Pretty strong on the floor, I think. That's for guys that have seen my fights. I'm pretty well known for my grappling ability, and I've finished a lot of my fights through like either ground and pound, TKO, or a sub. So my striking was considered my weakest point, and my opponents were beginning to pick up on that. So I wanted to pick a striking discipline and really focus on it. And a very good friend of mine, Carl, he basically started Monkey Muay Thai, and we've worked together for years. And he's a good friend and a very good coach. So it seemed the natural
progression,
the natural place to be. Yeah.
And what and you know that I really am quite intrigued in kind of like preparation on all different kind of sports. Yeah. And I guess for me and the listeners, I guess this is the kind of the key point of what I really wanted to kind of dig deep into. Is kind of like what the people don't see is when you prepare yourself for a fight. What people see is either that you go to a camp local, or you end up going to Gibraltar for a fight, or and you go away for X amount of weeks, and they don't actually know what goes on regarding your nutrition or your mindset, and that's the kind of like the bit that I really want to kind of dig deep into. So I mean, how does, when you start to do a prep, where does it start and how does it go along?
So again, it's the kind of thing that you refine over time. So I've done probably 15 plus weight cuts now. That takes its toll on the body and things. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Generally for me, I naturally used to walk around 84, 85 kilos. Used to fight 77. So that's a relatively big, a relatively big drop. Just by for me, the hardest bit that a lot of people struggle with, obviously in the gym as well, is the nutrition side of it. For me, I love nothing more than a good burger.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah,
I like to eat crap just as much as the next person. But I basically used to convince myself that food was a reward, and I began to see food as a means to fuel the body for what I needed to basically do to achieve. So I was lucky enough to have a very experienced guy, Dean Amsinger, do a lot of my weight cut, and I've learned a lot of things from him. And off the back of that, I've kind of gone and done my own courses and things, and I've learned a lot through that. But it's people's association with food is I think wrong. So again, we could kind of go off topic, but for me, I used to fuel my body for what I had to achieve that day. Or if I wanted a treat, say I'm in camp, I would not restrict myself. I would never be unhappy because I crave food. I'd be realistic. We all want to sit and eat like 5 bars of chocolate in the evening.
Of course,
you can do it, but you're going
to pay for it.
Yeah. Like once in a while, it's fine. If you do it every night, then it becomes an issue. Like anything, drink, drugs, or like whatever. Just if you do it in excess, then it becomes an issue.
Yeah. And then, so essentially, how long is kind of like a prep? I mean, I guess is that the correct word to use for when you're doing?
So I've been asked this question a few times actually. A lot of people call it a fight camp.
Right. Okay.
It's now a trendy thing to be in a fight camp.
Okay.
But actually, a true martial artist or a true athlete is constantly on a kind of level. A lot of people sort of don't train, and then when they accept a fight, it's like a 10-week fight camp or an 8-week fight camp. So the way that we used to approach it was that you kind of train constantly, and then you just refine things for that 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or 10 weeks, whatever. Just depends how long you are. Depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
If you fly when you got to cut weight, then that that can affect how much weight you
because
can lose.
because of water, right?
The water,
Yeah.
Exactly that. Heat depends on the climate. Depends on the time of year. If you're trying to fight in the middle of winter, then it's quite often a bit harder to lose some weight. So it all kind of each camp like differs. Coming towards the end of my career, I used to go away for camp. Like you said, I've been to Gibraltar, been to Mike's gym in Holland quite a bit. It's just nice to it takes you out of the environment. There's nothing else to focus on, and it's just easier to focus on your goals, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I guess even myself, I kind of imagined or know that I've heard. When I hear you going into a prep, you kind of disappear for like 8 weeks or whatever. Yeah. But I know that you maintain your body shape and your kind of fitness to a certain level throughout, pretty much like what I do, and then whatever I'm going to go into. But I guess that's a real kind of opener right there, where people do believe that there's like kind of this 10-week course where suddenly you just go from doing nothing to suddenly it's 10 weeks, it's full on. You go away somewhere, you come out looking lean like a champion.
It's trendy. It's the trendy thing to be. Like if you flick through Instagram, everything's like I don't know, a 10-week course and you get abs or whatever, or like it's not. You're not reconditioning the mind. You're just basically trying to give people a quick fix or give them a pill to feel like it just that doesn't work really. And I invite anyone to suffer the way some fighters suffer. Try it. Genuinely try it. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks. It makes you appreciate things a lot more.
Yeah, I bet.
And ultimately as well, if I didn't make weight, I didn't get paid. I didn't get to feed my family. Chances I wouldn't get to fight. So it's amazing how that encourages you to get up and go for the run at 6 in the morning when it's dark and cold and wet, and you don't want to go for the run, but you got to. Like,
and it literally is that cutthroat that if you don't hit your weight, you go to weigh in, and then you weigh more than you should do. That's it.
It can be, yeah.
Wow.
It can be, or generally, so if you're quite close, you tend to lose a percentage of your purse.
Yeah.
If you're well over, which has happened in the past to opponents against me, I never miss weight. For me personally, there's no excuse to ever miss weight or ever be unfit.
Yeah.
That's just laziness.
It's just part of your prep.
It's
what you're building up to, right?
I like to suffer in the build up, suffer to a certain extent in the build up to a fight, because it makes me feel like I'm working towards something. I like to feel that I've suffered, I've grueled, I've had to push through some like mental barriers to be able to be able to get where I want to be, and that's the bit that people don't see. People quite often see, again, that's why social media is just all over the place, man. People see the glory side of it,
of course.
They see all the amazing pictures and stuff. They don't see you crying in the bath when you're cutting weight, trying to make weight. They tune in, or they come and watch you walk out under the big lights at Wembley Arena. That's the peak for a lot of people. I walked out in front of thousands. That was my aim for years. That was one of my aims, and I made it. And I got there, and to achieve one of your big goals in life like that, there's nothing more rewarding, I think, than actually getting there. So
and I mean, let's not just kind of like just go over that. I mean, let's talk about that, because I remember having that conversation with you, and I remember seeing it in your face, in your eyes, when you were describing about what it was like to walk onto that kind of, not even onto the stage, but just to walk onto the bit where you had your name up in the pictures of you on the lights on the main big screen. And I remember you explained to me, and your whole face was just like lit up, like it was just like a kid in the candy store. I mean,
it's got, again, I don't know. I set goals very regularly. Some they're all achievable, because every goal is, I think. But this was my long-term goal. This was part of my 5-year plan, and I achieved it. It's something that I'd worked for like 10 years plus, and I've something that is unreachable for the majority of people.
It's a bit. I mean, let's face it. That's a big stage.
It is. But I deserve to be there. I wasn't there by chance. I didn't cut corners. I I suffered more than most. You know, I worked harder than most, and to be there, I've got some really cool pictures now, like your naming lights. Again, it's not for me. It wasn't what it looked like on TV, or you know, it's for me. It was ticking that thing off your list.
Yeah.
Like that. I set a goal and I hit it, and for me that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, just to go back a little bit, and I just wanted to go back into the prep side of things a little bit more, but because for me, you know, I know prep on what I prepare myself and my different challenges and stuff like that, and I always use food as fuel. You know, and you know me as when I'm training, I'm always kind of like maintenance, and then I go into like a 4-month or 5-month training plan and so on. But I don't actually know like what kind of foods or what. So if you did a prep, what is your kind of like base food, or is there not kind of base food?
So the older I've got, the harder it's become to drop weight. Which, you know, I was all the way through my 20s. You know, I was incredibly active. Like it's hard to explain to people because when I'm in mid camp, you know, I'm burning 3,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
Like quite often through camp, I'm just trying to maintain weight. So I'm eating, you know, 4,000 calories, like 4,500 calories a day.
That's a lot of calories.
Yeah, just so I'm not losing muscle as well. So is you know, from your experience, it's a trick, or it's a fine line to drop fat, but keep the muscle mass, keep the strength up.
Yeah.
While manipulating water levels, while trying to maintain your energy levels. It's a fine balance. And
it's hard.
Yeah, and you sleep. Suddenly, if you get a little bit run down, it just knocks everything out of kilter. Things change. You got to fly somewhere. It just messes it up. Like that's why things like when you have birthday parties, or like your friend has a birthday party, that I want to do nothing more than go and celebrate their birthday party.
Yeah.
But I know that at 8 p.m. I'm due to eat, you know, chicken and rice and a handful of veg while they're all tucking into their burgers and stuff, and they're sinking 10 pints. You know, I'm sipping my green tea and I've got my little Tupperware pot. Normal people don't do that.
No,
normal people don't do that.
I mean, that's showing you the discipline right there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the difference between being a winner and not winning.
Agreed. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I know we've got Caroline in the room here, and she, you know, she can back my story here, where we went for our local restaurant at Go-Go's, and I was on prep, and I remember everyone else eating all these dirty ribs and burgers, and I sat there with my water and lemon, and it was just like, well, you know, if you either do it or you don't, I totally understand where you're coming from and there, but I think a lot of people would find that literally impossible, or can't comprehend that kind of level of dedication that's needed to be able to either, one, be surrounded by it and going, actually, no, I can't have the cake, and then sitting there with your Tupperware,
it's
looking at the only person like a bit of a weirdo.
It's crazy. I've had friends come and go. I've lost friends because of it. I've lost relationships. I've missed out on experiences. This is all the stuff that people don't see. They just see they just see the glory days. They don't see what goes on in the gym, what goes on at home. You know, miserable in the evening. You know, my partner suffers. I mean, when I'm in fight camp, she puts up with an incredible amount of suffering, as you two know. Like
100%.
How it goes, it's not enjoyable for either of you. But you know, she's there and she helps me. She knows what the dream meant to me. And the fact that she's willing to suffer that and just put up with it, that there's no gain for her. She doesn't care if I walk out in Wembley. She doesn't care. Like yes, she gets to put on a nice dress. She goes out for a nice night. Whatever. You become the centre of attention. Like you make some money for doing what you love. Yeah. She doesn't care. Like she just wants to know that I'm safe. We're happy. All that. Like it's all that becomes all that becomes secondary. Yeah. Really. To what the goal is, to what the target is.
Because I guess there's a big difference between getting paid for doing a job and then getting paid to doing something that you absolutely love. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that will never experience that, and then there's others out there that actually thrive on it.
Yeah.
You know, like you're one of them. They'll go out and they'll try to continue doing that.
Yeah.
And you know, and going from, I mean, that moment, and obviously that's been like a hell of a moment in your life.
Yeah.
After all the dust settled, I mean, where did you go from that point? Obviously, I know you, but I mean, mentally, how do you then go, right, well, I need to now do something that is that equivalent?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me personally, I'd set this really high target for myself that took, 8-10 years to achieve, and I hit it twice. After that, I struggled to find another goal that I wanted to work that hard for. I struggled with motivation. I was getting a bit older.
Yeah.
My what was important to me had changed in my life. People around me had suffered enough. I still enjoy it, and I'll never not enjoy it. It's that thirst for knowledge. I've met some, incredible friends that are going to be friends till the day I die.
Yeah.
I know. It's a weird friendship that you have with these guys.
It's a bond, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's I can't even begin to explain it. It's an interesting bond where you punch people in the face, and then
please don't try it.
and then you go out for dinner with the kids and the families. It's a really weird thing, but. So I struggled with motivation a bit. I was also aware of age. I'm not old in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because how old are you?
33 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not old. I know some.
You're a lot younger than me.
No. But in terms of high level sport, I mean
because as a fighter, is that an old age or is that young?
No, they say that the fighter kind of hits their peak. Like early to mid 30s.
Okay.
Like the UFC heavyweight champ who recently lost, Daniel Cormier. I think he just turned 40. There's been other guys that have fought into their 40s. Randy Couture, Fedor Emelianenko. These guys are some of the greatest fighters of all time, and they fought into their 40s and they didn't disgrace themselves. Like
wow.
It's not. It's a different type of thing, because I think actually. The mentality of a fighter that matures as you get older.
Yeah.
So I mean that plays a big part in what you do, like fighting. So actually, it's the fine balance between the body being able to carry the mind, and then the mind trying to trick the body into something that it can't do. So that's when that's when it gets interesting. So when the two meet at that sort of perfect age. 30, early 30s to mid 30s, then that's when guys are generally at their best, I think.
And that's got to be quite hard, because at that age, it's quite hard to keep your body at a certain kind of maintenance, and it's a lot harder than it would be if you're, for example, 21 or 22.
Injury recovery time for me, mid 20s, I broke my foot, just training, but I'm back training again within 2 weeks. Albeit it's not the smartest thing to really do. You just recover so much quicker, because I eat the right things. I look after myself. I rehab properly. Any injuries, you just recover so quickly. As you get a bit older, things just take a little bit longer. I've got to be smarter with the way I train now. I can't I keep up with all these young guys coming through in the gym now. Some of these young guys they're high level guys. They go very, very far. UFC level guys, and I just have to be a bit smarter. I can't do. I used to train 2-3 times a day, high intensity, high pace. I've now got to build up to a big session. I can't, like, if I know, for example, I'm sparring on a Tuesday, I won't go hard on a Monday night. I won't go hard on Tuesday morning. I have to build up to things, and then the Wednesday morning is like an active recovery session for me.
Yeah.
So
but that's being clever as well, because that's you listening to your body and knowing your body. Where there's been a lot of people that wouldn't know about listening to their body,
Yeah.
and that's where the injuries come along
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah.
So for now, I mean, obviously now I mean, I know that you got your motivation, and I know that you're doing it, and I know you got lots of going on.
Yeah.
But as the fighting side of things, I mean, you decided to. Am I safe to say that you retired from it?
No, what? I actually fought a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I know you did a boxing thing.
Yeah, I did. So,
because I know I was going to bring that up. Because I was going to say that you kind of retired.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden I see that you're preparing yourself for a boxing match.
Yeah.
But,
So we'll touch back on that as well. So I'm not. There are some fighters that don't have the option but to fight through struggles or upbringing or academically. I'd had a great upbringing. I've got loving I've got loved ones around me. I'm relatively well educated. I just chose to fight. So fighting for me was a choice, and obviously I'm glad I chose that. But I'm also not stupid. I'm realise that I'm not at the top of the game, in the world, and realistically for me to get there, I think I could have achieved more. But I thought actually I've achieved my big target that I set myself. Why do I want to, stress everyone else around me and myself? Do I really want to put myself through it? No, I don't. So that's my answer. So I set my next target to be more so in business and personal growth and through the family as well. So because that had all been neglected for some years.
I can imagine.
So my targets and my drive changed. I think ever since I basically was a pro fighter, I was very conscious of I don't know how I would go back to working a 9 to 5 again. Honestly don't know how I could do it now. Obviously, being responsible for your own thing. Yeah. That then became my only drive was to secure something that I didn't have to go back into a 9 to 5 for. I know loads of fighters that have come and gone, left. Again, it happens with quite a lot of athletes. I've read quite a lot on NFL players. They get cut or whatever. It happens with a few young football friends I know. They're at the top of the game for a couple of years. They have no exit strategy, and all of a sudden their stonehouse broken. They've got nothing before they even know it. They lose a contract. Yeah. They don't get back in because of whatever age, whatever. They have no exit strategy. Then they're kind of mid-30s and they have nothing. They've been at the top of their game, or they've been very high level at the game, and now they're mid-30s and they've got nothing. Yeah. I was very aware of that. So that's why I started to set things up that I'm trying to set up now, and that has happened very quickly. A lot, a lot quicker than I thought.
Because I mean, I don't want to go into the business side of it just yet, because I've still got a couple of questions regarding the fighting side of things. But I guess one of the key questions that I like to ask people is like, if you look back, what would you say is like what would you say is your biggest mistake?
I mean, how clean do I have to keep it? I've made some horrendous mistakes. My belief all the way through life, and it still stands now in business, that I go a lot my gut, but I think the gut is led by the brain and experiences. Yeah. So if I feel like I should try something, or I would hate to not take a risk and then regret it when I get older, or regret it in a few years' time. So I would happily take the risk and then deal with whatever comes after that, because ultimately whatever comes after that is never actually that bad. I don't like, from my experience, that it's never actually it's never as bad as you think it's going to be, or this is where people achieve great things, is by taking risks. There's no the road's never straight and flat.
No,
it never
guides
you.
Would like to paint that kind of picture, but
I've made some horrendous mistakes. I've trusted people I shouldn't trust. I've lost large amounts of money. I've lost small amounts of money. I've lost businesses. I've lost all kinds of stuff. So it's 100%. It's never going to be plain sailing, but it's all part of the bigger picture in my mind. Yeah. So
and like my next kind of question is what would you say was your toughest fight, and kind of like why?
My an actual fight or a
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
one of my actual fights were I would say such a tricky question because actually the one in Wembley that I initially thought was going to be the toughest, the one in Wembley was the one I enjoyed the most because it was meant to be, it was there. I fought for a title on, I think it was Warrior Fight Series. It must be 5 years ago maybe, and I was very promising in the UK. People were talking about me. I'd won convincingly like fights previously. I was achieving good things, and I should have won this fight. I let my mind slip. Maybe I didn't work hard enough. Maybe took things for granted a bit. Thought I was better than I was. And the beautiful thing about MMA is it's very humbling. You let slip. You
soon know.
Yeah, you let slip, and you get kicked in the head pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's the most humbling thing ever. So actually, you take a beating. On the outside it looks pretty rough, but you go in expecting that. So superficially, it's not. It's only superficial injuries, but
yeah.
What it teaches you, or what it taught me mentally, was far greater than what it could ever do for me.
Yeah.
By winning or losing a fight, really. At one point, winning or losing a fight for me was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Was the biggest thing in the world. Like, I lost one fight, and I've never had a nervous breakdown, but I'm convinced I was pretty close to not being in a good place.
Yeah.
And then your situation changes. You get more experience, and then it helps put things in perspective a bit more, and you realise actually no one really cares if you win or lose.
Yeah.
Like it is what it is. Like I've had write-ups in the media where people slag you off. I've had social media people slag you off. I've had people love you. It's just, if you listen to stuff like that, then it's going to play on your mind. So I could only imagine what it's like at the very top.
Yeah.
It
They must
be
have tough skin.
Yeah, yeah. I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. He's
he's a legend.
He's achieved great things, and he says he just never really reads social media because it's the uneducated trying to put their opinion out on people, and it's only going to upset someone. So what's the point, really?
Yeah.
So I can't think of the guy's name, to be fair, but needless to say, I got beat up. And I got beat up and then choked unconscious, actually, in that one. Yeah. So that,
I love the way you say that and then laugh.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last, I'm sure. But again, that taught me more mentally than it did actually physically.
Yeah, and I know that because a lot of people who probably will meet you now probably know you as James, the kind of businessman now. Yeah. Where I've kind of seen you kind of change from the fighter into the kind of businessman that you are now, but still doing the both.
Yep.
And I guess it's kind of like you don't want to let that part of your life go. And is that the reason why you still do? I know that you get involved with a lot of the clubs now. I know that you're doing a lot of stuff with that, irrelevant to your business. You are a very busy man. Yeah. But you do this, off your own back. And is that to keep you involved in the fighting side of things, or?
So the martial arts side of things has given me a lot. And I, when I opened my first gym, I took probably 8 months of fighting. Like I trained very occasionally. I wasn't living life like an athlete. I was converting into that bit of a businessman. And I'm also aware of whatever I'm going to do. I'm never going to go in half-hearted. I'm going to give my all into it. So I put a lot into my first business project, and that has a knock-on effect on other things. But I took my martial art mentality into the business world, which I think I've experienced a lot of things that some people will never experience. So I don't have a business degree. I don't have an accounting degree. I don't have that. But I also have experienced things that the majority of people in everyday life have not experienced, and it's how I now convert that into my business world. I'm lucky enough to have met through martial arts. Again, I was training him. I was lucky enough to meet a a man who, I won't say his name because he's actually quite private. Actually, a couple, husband and wife, who have done more for me in the last 2 years than they could ever imagine.
Right.
And it's literally one of the, they give me opportunities that that people don't get.
Yeah.
But I credit that to, but like, I've worked hard. I'm honest. I'm a man of my word. You know, I don't cut corners. So this stuff isn't by chance. You know, this stuff happens because it's meant to happen. Things happen at the right time. In the grand scheme, in the end of it, whether it goes right or wrong, you know, if it goes wrong, then it's meant to teach you a lesson. If it goes right, then it's the right time for it to happen. So, but I believe that this encounter came because just because it was meant to be. I know I've helped him through things indirectly, just through martial arts, through that training, just kind of talking as friends. But as a couple, they have given me and my family more than they could, more opportunity than I could ever express.
Well, that I think it kind of takes me on to like the next, because obviously now I know. But so your current adventure, or I guess I can call it adventure, business adventure, is that you're currently dealing with the gym.
Yeah,
you're currently own your own gym.
Yeah,
it's the one that's in Windsor.
Yeah.
It's my second home.
It is, yeah.
I know it really well.
Yeah.
And it was also my my home for 48 hours of my challenge.
Yeah, it's crazy. Whatever, that's cool.
But you know, that's a big project in itself.
Yeah.
Owning your own gym, let alone everything else.
Yeah.
So what's the dream now? I mean, where do you see yourself? What's the big goal?
So again, I just like to. I haven't really set. I've got a few small targets. I haven't set a big end goal. I'm not financially driven. That's not for a lot of people. That's the end goal. I know, to make some money or whatever. I've now reassessed my smaller targets. I want stability. I want time with my family and my friends. I owe them time. They've all given me time. My friends, one in particular, reminds me of how much of how useless I was over the last sort of 10 years. But listen, I'm the best man at his wedding next weekend. So he quite often reminds me, rightfully so, about how things have been neglected or whatever.
Yeah.
But these guys are still here. The true friends, the true relationships, and the true families, the true family members. They're the ones that stay in. They're the ones
they're the ones that are essentially like rock. You know, you go through all that. You know, if they can see you at your worst,
of course, and
still be there to you know, like you said, you're now he's going to be his best man. It's kind of that's the kind of friends that you have for life.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
And won't mention no names. We'll just call him Mr. Blank.
He knows. He knows anyway. Yeah. So I mean, I've been given a good opportunity that I have worked hard for. It's not by chance.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked hard for this, and he's a smart man, and he can see stuff like that. So, and he works with me through the business. Obviously, advises me business work. So initially, we used to train together. I approached him to basically give me advice when I opened my first gym. You know, he is in a. He owns some businesses that he does that through, and he could have charged me. He could have basically taken me to the cleaners with things, and I would still have paid, but it was a different sort of it was a different level. Like he helped me as a friend, and so I sort of approached him for some business advice because then I was at the point of I was still getting paid for my hourly time. Like I was doing some personal training stuff, like training other guys how to fight stuff. I was like doing some personal training, also running a business that was beginning to make some money. My time commitments are getting a bit stretched.
Yeah.
And ultimately, at that point, that's when your loved ones tend to suffer. You know, you know they're quite often the first one that you take the time out of, which is wrong. But you know, you still got to pay the bills as well.
Yeah.
And I think being self-employed, as I have been now for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, it depends if the tax man's listening or not. as to how long
He's
he's
not.
Yeah, depends how long I'll be self-employed for. But that is a drive, because I don't ever want my kids to go without. I don't need a massive house. I don't need the newest cars. I don't need the fanciest clothes. Although I do love a tracksuit and new trainers. but that is the fear of being self-employed, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You've kind of had that experience where it's I would say to people, a lot of guys approach me now for some sort of advice, and I say that being self-employed is very high risk, high reward. If you're willing to put the work in, cool. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win at life. I know some guys that have run very successful businesses and have quickly fallen apart in the space of a few months.
Yeah.
Through whatever reason, and that's horrible to watch. It is. So yeah, it's tricky. So that's why I'm so grateful for people giving me opportunity, and off the back of that, I kind of pass it on. I like to give opportunity.
Yeah, and I've seen
a lot of people. Yeah,
and I think for me, one of the biggest kind of stories with you, the picture that you've kind of painted, is that with hard work does come opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the biggest things that kind of with social media and so on is that people see people on there, they're always happy, kind of like what I was discussing the other day about how it's all that false kind of just smiles all the time, but they don't understand that you've been working really hard for 10 years to achieve that, or 6 years to achieve this. And they don't realise that when you essentially your training is getting kicked in the head, or this and this and this, and even though you've now changed it round, and you're still you're now becoming like an entrepreneur into the businesses side of things, you're still very much hands on in with the fighting side of things.
Yeah, for me, I kind of backed out of that a lot when when we brought 5-star, name drop there.
Yeah.
When I focused a lot on that, it was hard to I was going through a big change. I was going from an athlete. I was going through an identity change. People knew me as an athlete.
Yeah.
People they didn't know me as a businessman. This gym that we brought, I'd been a member of for like 5 years. They see me be at the top of the game as an athlete, and all of a sudden now I'm a business owner. What they don't know is that I'd owned a business for the previous 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
People don't know that. So coming into it now, all of a sudden, the lines have been blurred a bit, because you're friends with people, and then when your relationship changes with people, that's when you have to make choices, and
of course
they're not always the nicest choices, but it is what it is.
Business is business
for
right?
that moment. Yeah, it is. But in the same breath, I will always give someone an opportunity for their personality. For example, if I connect on a high level with someone through their personality, I can see something in them that maybe they can't even see themselves, over someone who is more maybe slightly higher educated. They've maybe got on paper they look better, but actually you can see in their eyes that they don't really care, or whatever. Like I would always give that person the opportunity that is willing to learn, willing to work hard, simply because that's where I've been.
Yeah.
And I've been wrong on a few occasions, but that won't change the way I approach things. I've also been, right on a lot of occasions, which I give myself a little pat on the back for. Yeah. Now, again, I still work a lot with the kids in the MMA world.
Yeah. And
the Thai world. I did all the way through my sort of pro career, because the same with my daughter. Like the same with, for example, I tell a story. So the night I fought at Wembley, come out on a big screen in front of thousands of people, you win. TKO, so a technical knockout, jumping up on the cage, thousands of people screaming, like really, really cool. Go to an after party, champagne, all your friends, like literally, like
sounds amazing.
Yeah, whatever you could imagine. But literally 6 hours later, my missus is making me get up, change my son's nappy. My daughter wants feeding, she wants her breakfast. I've got to go to Tesco's to do the food. And I walk around Tesco's, I'm like, literally 10 hours earlier, I was on top of the world, living this crazy life that people could only ever imagine, and now I'm back here. Like it's really hard to explain.
That's got to be like a massive kind of crash as well. Cause
you do get the post fight blues. I'm sure. Again, just kind of talking to you guys, you get the post comp blues. You don't quite like this has been your whole focus for the last however many weeks, and then it's been and gone. It's a bit like, well, all right, well, what do I do now, kind of thing.
Of course.
But it is good for downtime. You're doing your downtime.
And I guess it must keep you grounded as well, right?
Well, that's the thing with the kids. Yeah, so that's where I was going with the thing about the kids. Is kids don't care like that. No. Like they've got a real like they don't care who you are. Really, and that's the most humbling thing. Is that I mean, yeah, I can literally be in Wembley the day before, and then I see the kids in the morning, or I teach the kids class the following day, and they don't care. They're like, "Oh, cool. Are you okay?" They're like, "Yeah." Did you win? Yeah. All right, cool. Can we play football now? oh, whatever. Like, it's
not about you, Daddy.
No, yeah. No, it's not, and that is the most humbling thing, and that also helps to remind you that actually the winning or losing is obviously it's important in terms of your career, but actually in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing really.
And do you have because I know that I live by certain rules, and I have certain rules that are in my head all the time that just allows me to just continue to just thrive.
Yeah.
Is there certain is there like a Reedman rules?
There is, but I've never really spoken about this. I don't, it's kind of
we'll cut it out. We'll keep recording.
It's kind of I wouldn't know where to start. It's kind of a set of rules in my head that you create over time through experiences and things. And I know that when I'm stepping over those rules, that maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I toe the line a bit, come back a bit. So like I said earlier, I go a lot on gut feeling, but I think the gut is informed with the head, with the mind. So that's why I think the mind is so important. I focused a lot on the mind 5 or 6 years ago. Actually, I did a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, a lot of mindfulness work. Worked with some very prominent guys in the world of sports psychology and things. And the mind is incredibly, obviously powerful. Again, I don't need to tell you, but I don't know how you can start to convince people just how powerful the mind is, and I really don't want to preach. It's not my place.
I know
it's not my place to preach. It's for people to figure out for themselves. But it is when you figure it out for themselves. When I had to work hard to meditate. Like it didn't come easy to me. I just sitting still for a minute was like really really hard work. And then I worked on it. I was going through some dark places at one point. Just making some horrible life choices. Just collection of things. Everyone has issues or whatever.
Yeah.
Things that they have to work on, like demons that people keep quiet. So I worked a lot on my mind, and I look back now, and it kind of happened one day. I went from being dark and having weight on my shoulders. I think I woke up one morning and I was literally like, it was like I was floating. It's like the weird. I don't want to say like enlightened because I've got no idea what it. But it like there was definitely a mental shift. And now I dip in and out of it now. Like everything goes great, blah blah blah. I think cool, on top of the world, and then occasionally something happens. It might even be a big thing, which is why I read a lot into things like depression and stuff. I don't. I'm lucky enough not to suffer with it, but there's people around me that do.
Yeah.
So I like to read up on stuff like that, and it's things that seem minor to other people are huge things in someone's life, and you just can't. I can't comprehend what other people think, and it's not for me to second guess things. It's not for me to think, or to try and convince people otherwise. They have to figure it out for themselves. I can help to open the door. I can help to lead the way. I can help and show them. But unless they want to actually achieve this themselves, that it's never going to work. Like almost like when you talk about losing weight, I can write someone a diet plan.
Yeah.
Or you can write someone a diet plan. But when you've been in it for 3 weeks, you're tired. You've got nothing in the house, or you've got a bag of crisps and a chocolate bar in the cupboard, but you've got to spend 20 minutes trying to cook a meal. The majority of people are going to break it.
Yeah.
And go for that.
You can only kind of show them the way.
Exactly. And unless they want to actually achieve it themselves, and again, nothing's ever been a straight road. It's always windy and bumpy.
Yeah, and you know that I'm very up there when it comes to the mind mind games. You know that I firmly believe that the mind is the biggest muscle that we've got.
Yeah,
I think majority of people are using just a very small percentage of the actual power that it's got. Once again, I'm not going about the whole enlightened thing because it's one of those things that I think people can generally use and they can. And I think the biggest mistake a lot of people do is that they stop learning.
Yeah,
and they close the door on certain things where life isn't like you said. Every path has a hurdle, we always kind of fall off a little bit. Then have to get back onto it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I listened to your story, and it kind of I've said this to you numerous amounts of time. I could never see myself as a fighter. I've joked about it a few times. I said that for me, what you do, I think is incredible. I think your journey has been incredible to where you were to where you are now, and to balance business, family, just to balance it all while keeping yourself.
I 100% don't balance it well. I promise you.
I should have put the missus on there.
Like if you got her on the phone, I should tell you otherwise. But there are times where the balances there are. But there are times,
I think me and you understand what balance means. It means it's kind of like balances from one side of the fence to the other side of the fence, rather when most people try to balance their life on a straight line. Yeah. And I always find that those kind of people will never really take a risk. And those are the ones that will just be quite happy just to go down a little bit of a straighter line. Where
one of my biggest fears as a man is to become civilized.
Nice.
I don't want to become civilized. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to. I like to encourage people to be like, take risks, be different, lose. Like mess up. It's only it's only a loss if you give up.
Yeah.
Lose, readjust, re-evaluate, and go again. Take it as a lesson.
Yeah.
Like that. When people settle and they become civilized, that's when people they don't learn, they become complacent, they don't look to like further knowledge, they don't seek further knowledge. It's not about reading books, like just experience things.
Yeah.
Like talk to people, experience things. And I get it's tough, I really do. I do get it's tough, but that is the big thing for me. It's just not becoming civilized. The whole thing's a big hustle, like especially with the kind of things that we do. You're constantly juggling stuff.
Yeah.
You drop the ball occasionally, like you kind of have to pick it up and go again.
You're totally right. And at the end of the day, it is a risk. I mean, we have no idea. You have no idea when you're going into a ring if you're gonna win or lose. Yeah. Although mentally you're prepared to go in there and win. The same as when I'm doing a challenge. I have no idea what the actual outcome will be. Yeah. I just mentally prepared that I'm gonna go and give it the best I've got. Yeah. And I think that's where the mentality bit will always come into play. And I think that's where kind of that grey, and I know that I remember seeing like a motivational quote somewhere, motivational quote. And it said that some guy was basically said, you lost, which means you're a loser. And then the other guy basically just said, no, I lost because I tried.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, and I thought, do you know what? I really like that because you can see it, and it's kind of like where your cup's half empty, or half full. Depends how you want to look at it.
Exactly. So that kind of comes back to where we mentioned earlier about the business side of things. Like, I would rather take a risk and miss or fail or whatever you want to call it, and then if it costs you money, it costs you money. If it costs you whatever it costs you, it costs you. But you never know until you try it. You never know what it could be. Obviously, you got to be smart with you can try and calculate things as much as you can. But actually, a lot of times you never actually know. You can plan things as well as you can. But I mean, you never know. So you kind of wing it. You go on intuition, experiences, like feelings, that kind of thing. Again, I surround myself now with good people that inspire me, people that I look up to, people that have been in they've been in places that I'm trying to get to. So I'm taking advice from these. I'm taking advice from guys that have been to where I am. They've been to where I am currently, and they're wherever they are now. whether it be good or bad, they won or lost or whatever. These are all experiences. It's when you get advice from people that, or they try and preach that have not experienced your experiences, or walked the path that you've walked, which is why I don't like to preach, because you never know what people have been through, what they're going through now. I can just be me, and if they want to gravitate to me, if they want to ask my opinion, they want my help, I'll give them a chance. I'll always give someone a chance. If you decide to throw it back in my face, or cheat or lie, or not be honest, not be accountable, then you've had your chance. That's fine.
Yeah. So kind of taking it. So you're not preaching, but what is, if you could, what message would you have for the listeners? What would you say to them? That's something to.
That's a good one. Don't be scared to fail.
Nice. I like that.
I spent years.
I'm taking that.
You can write that down, mate. Just don't be scared to fail. You never know what you can actually achieve, and actually, just by making a small achievement, it can actually encourage you whatever way to achieve greater things. So what is small to someone and what's big to someone is like vice versa to the other person. So just deal with your own shit. Just kind of get your head down and like crack on. Really surround yourself with good people. Just like back yourself. I know it's hard sometimes. You just have to back yourself.
I like that. And I guess the final kind of thing that I do for everyone is, where can they find James Reedman?
Oh my generally I'll be at work. My social media is pretty much out of date. And that's one thing I wanted to kind of actually touch on quick, was that I spent years trying to grow my social media presence, trying to portray an image of a big tough fighter man, whatever, cool. And then now I learned through other people actually working in silence, you tend to achieve a lot more, and kind of flying under the radar is cool, but it's given me a lot of opportunities at different places. So people portray crap on social media, mate. It just like it's one of those evil necessities that actually, if I didn't need it, businesses need it. I pay people a lot of money to run my social medias because that's what the business needs.
Yeah.
If I didn't need it, then I don't think I'd have it anymore. It's cool to see my friends and family and things, but it is full of crap. And but that leads a lot of people having some issues.
That we know.
Which is a whole different.
Yeah, and that's like with the Instagram blackout. That's a whole different conversation. We won't go there.
You can get me on social media, or generally, if you know me and you care enough to have a listen, then you know where I'm going to be, or you've either got my number or you know where I'm going to be. So feel free to come and grab me and have a chat.
Yeah, and I've got to I just got to add as well that the gym that we were discussing is kind of like my second home. It's called 5 Star Fitness, which you'll see all the links, and I'll put all the links on the post once we post away on all my social media. So I'll be posting away, but basically the story for this evening is just to prove that it doesn't matter if you're grappling in a ring, being kicked in the head, or literally standing on stage, in front of thousands of people at Wembley, to becoming a business owner. It just proves that whatever your goal is, you can basically go out there, work damn hard, and achieve whatever you want to achieve. And James is literally proof in the pudding, without being the pudding bit. I keep adding puddings. I've really got to try and get that out of there. But James, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you, sir.
I know that we will be bumping into each other, because we will.
Of course.
But if anybody wants to ask James any questions, you can hit him up on social media, or you can just literally fire a question across down the gym, send it a pigeon message, whatever. But that's the best place to find it. I'm going to be sharing some links. 5 Stars going to be having some amazing stuff going on very soon, so I'll keep you all posted on that. But for me and James, we're just going to sign off now. We want to say thank you for listening. James, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And I will see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.